The libertarian Bible, Anarchy, Utopia, turned 50 this year, so we thought we should honor that and make some videos on the philosopher Nozick and his work. In this one we want to start with an anecdote that is told about Nozick and that is sometimes used as a sort of gotcha argument against his libertarian position. Libertarianism is a political philosophy that focuses on the individual and their rights. Libertarians tend to be very skeptical of the state's legitimacy, as any state action can be seen as an infringement of said individual rights. So the less state you have, the more the individual's liberty is intact. So what is the story about Nozick? In the 1980s, Robert Nozick, professor at Harvard University, rented an apartment from the writer Eric Siegel. Siegel raised the rent continuously, and at some point, Nozick was very annoyed about this and the constant dealings with Siegel's representatives. As Nozick knew that the apartment was supposed to be rent-controlled, Nozick's annoyance led him to sue Siegel over the rent hikes. Siegel supposedly waved a copy of Nozick's own book at him and said that by writing this he waived all his rights to such a complaint and lawsuit. After all, Nozick forcefully argued that government interventions such as rent control are morally wrong. But alas, it was of no help, and Nozick won the legal battle against Siegel. A libertarian who uses the state to enforce state regulations that he ought to be opposed to on moral grounds. That's indeed inconsistent, but not a big deal, right? Well, apparently it was a big deal, to both his allies and his critics. For this you have to keep in mind that political philosophy often isn't just about abstract ideas. To many people, political philosophy is a way of life. This is especially true for the extreme ends of the political spectrum, in this case libertarians. They really do try to live according to their moral objections to the government. So to see one's political hero succumb to such unworthy socialist actions is truly heartbreaking. You can find online blog posts of libertarians who try to make sense of why Nozick did what he did. Heck, even Nozick himself said in an interview that he isn't happy that he went through with the lawsuit. But he emphasized that it wasn't really a departure from libertarianism. He was simply annoyed at someone, and the law was a way of getting back at that person. Nozick went through a very radical shift in his political identity in his life. When he was a student, he was actively engaged in socialist circles. But the more he read the work by libertarians, the more unhappy he became with the socialist project. He wrote his book Anarchy, Utopia as a response to his Harvard colleague John Rawls, who defended a bureaucratic, welfare-focused, democratic political system, and some even say a socialist-adjacent system. Against this, Nozick defended an argument for the minimal state, whose only job is to defend the basic natural rights that individuals are born with. This project was an inspiration to many libertarian thinkers, conservative thinkers, and to a significant extent even right-wing thinkers. But the book was the work of a young academic, and Nozick, while not forgetting his libertarianism, was much more focused on a plethora of other philosophical topics in the rest of his career. He never intended to write a successor to Anarchy, Utopia, and while he might have gotten a bit softer in his libertarianism, and even though he might have used the law for personal grudges, well, to put it in his own words, I want you to know that the news of my departure from libertarianism has been greatly exaggerated.